Hello, and welcome to Cosmic Dream Sanctuary. This is an inquiry into the relationship of UFO, UAP sightings, extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence contact, and dreams. So I will introduce the findings. I will provide a theoretic and literature review of both UAP and non-human intelligence contact, and as dreams as contact. I'll present some conclusions and hypotheses and consider some next steps. So thank you for being here. This inquiry arises up and out of my professional experience, my personal experience, and my education. My education and professional credentials include a bachelor's degree in the Western liberal arts tradition from St. John's College in Annapolis, Maryland, and that is an education that is equivalent to 2 majors, 3 minors, the majors including the history and philosophy of math and science, and philosophy, and then the minors being classics, comparative literature. The master's degree I hold is in East-West psychology from the California Institute of Integral Studies. I hold a certificate in hypnotherapy in the spiritual counseling modality of depth hypnosis, which is based on the work of core shamanism, Buddhist psychology, transpersonal psychology, and energy medicine. I also hold a certificate in beyond quantum healing, which arises up and out of the quantum healing hypnosis technique tradition put forward by Dolores Cannon. I am ordained as a minister in the Universal Life Church. I am the chief dream officer of Dreamwell, which is a mobile app dedicated for sleep, dream, and mindfulness practices and well-being. I am the technical co-founder of lightnet.org, which is a citizen science platform dedicated to exploring our consciousness together. And I also have over 5 years of experience leading web application development focused on interactive data visualization. And some of the clients that I've worked for include Harvard University, the University of Washington, the International Federation of Library Associations, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the City of Seattle. So I am just sharing this as a way to let you know that this is not a frivolous inquiry, but rather it is based in Western academic tradition from somebody who I've made my profession in being able to collate a tremendous amount of data and offer it in interactive ways. So that is the basis for this inquiry. These are all the references that are included in this inquiry. There are 27 references, and I try to actually limit them to the most relevant. And these all mostly are peer-reviewed scientific publications. Some of them are websites such as the National UFO Reporting Center or the Sleep and Dream Database, but these, again, are sort of reputable sources. So the summaries of the findings here I'd love to put forward right now before we dive into it is UFO and non-human intelligence contact is actually actively reported. UFO and non-human intelligence contact is clearly associated with dreams, with telepathic and psychic experiences, and that the high strangeness factor of ET or non-human intelligence encounters is phenomenologically similar to the bizarreness factors in dreams. Dream reports as well as contact reports seem to be reliable given a process of discernment. Dreams may be studied objectively through content analysis of reports or subjectively through participation. ET or NHI contact in dreams may be screen memories, that is, they stand in for memories of contact with these beings that are too vast for the consciousness to hold, so they think of them like dreams, or they may actually be psionic contact with psionic non-human intelligences. So lucid dream practice beneficially increases insight into strange mental states like psychosis or schizophrenia. And lucid dream practice may decrease nightmare experiences. And lucid dream with intent for contact may actually be accomplished at higher rates than other types of intents. So these are all findings from the references I'm providing. Therefore, we may actually conclude or consider that dreams are naturally telepathic, that dreams and NHI contact are phenomenologically similar. NHI, ET, UFO contact occurs both as telepathic dream experiences and unintegrated dreamlike memories. NHI contact reveals waking life to be something like a dream. So the lack of understanding of UAP NHI contact is something like a mass psychosis. So the study of dreams is non-dual and can unfold subjectively through personal experience, objectively through content analysis of dream reports, and collectively through lucid dream experimentation and sharing of personal testimony about these matters. Finally, mindfulness and lucid intent yield insight, empowerment, and resolution to conflict such as psychosis. Therefore, mindfulness and lucid intent practices may present a solution to what seems like a mass psychosis relating to the UAP, UFO, non-human intelligence, extraterrestrial contact phenomenon. So I do have to say that this topic is triggering to people. People have had experiences in their lives, in their past, that they would much rather imagine to be dreams, right? These might be nightmarish experiences that you push to the side of your mind that come up when you see, like, say, the cover of Communion from Whitley Strieber, the Greys with the big eyes, you get startled, and that's fine. But I'm letting you know that I've had those experiences. You can work through them if you approach this in a mindful way with intention. And that's what the dream science tells us. However, it may be triggering, right? You may have unresolved issues from your contact experiences, from your childhood, from hearing from society that dreams are meaningless. And therefore, you might have issues triggered within you. Everything that I offer here is testimony, observation, speculation that is based in reputable references that I'm sharing with you now. If any of this material is challenging for you, if those feelings are coming up, then I invite you to think of everything I say like a dream. You can go, oh, he's just talking about just dreams. And you can continue and imagine that the ET or non-human intelligence contact, that the UFOs that are being reported by reputable people in our society, those are just dreams too. If you are unwilling to approach this matter with courage, you are invited to not do that and to think of this like a dream. And that's totally acceptable. We've been doing that for decades. But rather, I would encourage you to go on this journey with me as someone who has gone on this journey before. I've gone on this journey of discovery. My experiences are the reason why I'm offering this academic discourse, so that others don't necessarily have to go through a decade of confusion around these matters. Dialogue is invited. None of what I am presenting here should be understood as fact. This is simply an inquiry into strange topics which seem to have a subtle but perceptible presence. All of my statements here invite you to personally discern their relevance in your life and worldview. I invite civil dialogue regarding this inquiry or related experiences or worldview. You can simply email me at daniel@cosmicdreamsanctuary.org to start a conversation. You can comment below. But again, I invite a sense of considering that this whole expression is a testimony, that my perception is a testimony of my experience. And I'm sharing that with you so that we can have dialogue. I want to meet you halfway with where you're at and learn about where you're at. So let's have a dialogue if these things are interesting to you. So my personal testimony, this topic is personally relevant to me. I have had experiences of contact with extraterrestrial, non-human intelligences through my dreams. I share this publicly. Here are something like 6 hours of conversation with other people. There's another interview coming out about my experiences. It's a relatively uncomfortable experience is to offer my personal testimony of ET contact through dreams. I do not have scars. I do not have photos. I do not have historical facts. And I don't think that matters because I am talking about dreams. And you'll see why once I get through this presentation, that dreams are actually meaningful in themselves, that there are more ways of knowledge than simply logical, rational ways of knowing, that testimony and experience are actually the basis of a lot of our knowledge. And therefore, I'm offering my testimony to you in this very vulnerable way through these different conversations for you to understand what it might be like to have a contact with extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence through dreams. And ultimately, I hope that I inspire you to work with your own dreams, to develop your own sense of discernment around these things. To get to this, you can go to Cosmic Dream Sanctuary on YouTube and look for the playlist, Daniel on YouTube, or you can go to bit.ly/NHI-dream-testimony. So my personal outlook here is I have had experience with non-human intelligences through my dreams. I understand that contact happens in dreams through two ways: screen memories, which are dreams that are not dreams, but you think of them like dreams. So this might be an encounter with an ET or a non-human intelligence that's too far out for you to incorporate into your waking world perception. And so you go, oh, that was just a dream. Or dreams can serve as a transcendent realm of contact. A transcendent realm of contact means that it stands outside of this historical space-time. It uses a different situation or framework, and you have encounters with intelligences there that sometimes can express themselves objectively. Dreams aren't well understood, but everyone dreams, and there is significant evidence, albeit weak, for a weak effect of telepathy in dreams. So everyone dreams, everyone has psionic dreaming potential. Right? This is really important to understand. Other human cultures value dreaming as a means of knowledge and action, and therefore we might expect that other NHI or ET cultures may also value dreams. And if they are more developed than us as dreamers, they may actually be in contact with us now through dreams, teaching us about the nature of our dreamlike reality. So what if it is possible that non-human intelligences and extraterrestrial beings have contacted everyone in this world through dreams? What if everyone has the means to prove to themselves the reality of this contact? What if non-human intelligences may be guiding us to better behavior and technological developments? We'll talk about significant scientific discoveries through dreams. And spoiler alert, we just need to look at the start of the scientific method in the works of Descartes to understand the significance of dreams in science. So I would challenge anyone who says that dreams are not scientific to research the history and philosophy of science and to read the works of Descartes to understand the roles of dreams in our Western world here and now. Then we'll also talk about some of the warnings and guidance themes that are coming up and out of non-human intelligence contact, NHI contact. Real contact with ETs or non-human intelligences may actually be happening right now through your dreams, through my dreams, through your neighbor's dreams, and we might just be saying, it's just a dream. I say we should wake up from that fantasy and take this seriously. If there's a slight chance that there is a communication with an extraterrestrial civilization that is happening through our dreams now, just a slight chance, perhaps even as slight as a radio transmission, we should be building edifices of culture similar to the radio telescope, similar to SETI. Right? We should be doing that. And in fact, we are. So let me continue. So let's start with definitions. So thank you for that preamble. Thank you for that introduction. We're going to go through a lot of material that I'm very passionate about. This is actually based in those references that I offer. And so I'll read a lot of them to you as a way for you to just receive this information. Definitions are really important to start with. We are talking about UFOs, unidentified flying objects, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. It's the same thing. It's just depending on what language you want to use. Extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional, ET/ED. NHI stands for non-human intelligence. The non-human intelligence actually is used in this context because to understand these beings as extraterrestrial requires a step in proof, right? Like there's a testimony, and some of the contact that we have is with real entities that can work throughout the objective world, but may not be extraterrestrial. So these might be spirits, these might be higher order intelligences, these might be angelic frequencies, but all of them may be turned NHI. We might talk about close encounters of the fifth kind, CE5, or human-initiated contact experience, HICE. So these are reaching out with our minds generally to these non-human intelligences to ask them to encounter us, to have a dialogue with us, generally for the purpose of expanding our minds so that we develop ourselves, so that we raise our frequency and kindness, and so that we may be even ultimately present here and now on earth for the benefit of those around us. So just to talk about this, I'm going to offer this number of reports from the National UFO Reporting Center. You can get to it at NUFORC.org. They have collected 136,000 reports of UFOs from 1998 to 2001. They are reports that are pretty reputable. They oftentimes have photographs, timestamps, placement on a map, and a description. There is a process of vetting them, so that's really important to know. And I would say, actually, I've never actually reported a UFO to these things. I know a lot of people who see UFOs and don't report them. But here is one source of knowledge to give you just a general number. That's 136,000 UFO reports in the last 23 years or so. So that's relatively significant. So we're talking a lot about non-human intelligence, and we are talking a lot about psionic capacities. And it is important to understand where in our scientific dialogue this takes place in. There is a lot of discussion about psionic capacities, telepathy, dream telepathy. These have been studied for 50 years, more than that. But really, generally, we keep having the same findings that telepathy, in the case of scientific and laboratory studies, performs slightly and significantly more than chance, which means there is a signal there. It means basically anyone you talk to is a bad telepath in the context of a scientific study. There are some outliers, right, that you can test really well, but generally anyone you pick off the street is like a bad telepath, basically, in the context of a scientific study. We've got FREE and CCRI. FREE is the foundation, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut, sixth man on the moon, his foundation for research into extraterrestrial and extraordinary experiences. They produced this book, Beyond UFO, with the editor Ray Hernandez. It is a huge book. It's 800 pages. It is based on 5 years of study. It involves surveys of more than 4,000 individuals who have had UFO contact and contact with non-human intelligences. And so it's the only statistical study that I know of about this subject. It's the only study that says, hey, you saw a UFO and you interacted with people. What was that like? There's no other statistical study. And in fact, a lot of our understanding about the interaction with the UFO occupants, right, comes from hypnosis, which I have a lot to say about in the other videos that I've made. But it is a problematic source of knowledge, and I'm saying that even as a hypnotist. There were some relatively strong conclusions in the Beyond UFOs book. I'll go through those pretty soon. So CCRI was founded, which is the Consciousness and Contact Research Institute, by Ray Hernandez, the editor and director of the FREE survey. And this is a huge book. It is 2 volumes of theoretic chapters about all these different contact modalities, meaning contact modalities is simply a way that you interact with a greater field of consciousness that is part of the theory that emerges out of Beyond UFOs. And then there's 2 volumes of experiencer essays about what it's like to have contact through these different modalities. For more information on those, you can go to agreaterreality.org. So the statistical findings of Beyond UFOs is important to know. You can send an email to Ray Hernandez, info@experiencer.org, and he'll send you a bunch of Beyond UFOs, so you don't even have to buy it. The major findings, statistical findings of Beyond UFOs from their over 4,000 respondents to the survey is, even though initially 37% viewed their experiences as highly negative, eventually the overwhelming number of contact experiences concluded that their contact experiences are mainly positive, between 85 and 95%, depending on the question asked. While all experiencers of the survey have seen both UFOs and have had various types of contact with non-human intelligences, the vast majority actually saw a physical entity. We found that the contact experience is overwhelmingly not a physical or material phenomenon. Instead, it is primarily a paranormal or psychic phenomenon. The third point they found is that the contact experiences is overwhelmingly transformative and positive. For the vast majority, you start as a caterpillar and finish as a butterfly, even though a small percentage are still traumatized by the experiences. Finally, contact involves a manipulation of space and time, and this in turn leads one to hypothesize that this non-human intelligence might be multidimensional. So, to talk about these things, to talk about this greater field of consciousness, that all of these, the UFO encounter, the paranormal experiences, the near-death experiences, these are all different modes of contact with a greater unified field of consciousness. That's what the theory says. So the contact modalities is a term that is coined to describe lucid dreams, astral projection, UFO sightings, ET contact as modes of this same contact. So this is from a paper that was put out by the same crew that put out the free study. Given this brief historical context, the QHT, the quantum holographic theory of consciousness, articulated by free co-founder Dr. Edgar Mitchell, suggests that we live in a multidimensional reality, and within this construct, humans are having contact with NHI in multiple formats or contact modalities. For example, UFO-related contact and contact via near-death experience, out-of-body experience, hallucinogenic substance, mystical meditation, travel, channeling, remote viewing, sightings of spirits, ghosts, and orbs, and other reported human encounters with non-human intelligence. The quantum holographic theory of consciousness argues that all of these contact modalities are not separate phenomena, but instead are part of one interrelated phenomena. The quantum holographic theory of consciousness views contact with non-human intelligence as a complex phenomena that can potentially be explained by the physics of an all-pervasive, multidimensional quantum hologram. Consequently, the quantum holographic theory of consciousness is a proposed framework in modern physics that can encompass the physical as well as the psychic, spiritual, and other so-called paranormal aspects of consciousness contact with NHI, among other unexplained experiences such as near-death, out-of-body, telepathy, paranormal, etc. So, who are the NHI or the extraterrestrial beings? And this question was asked for a total of, in the survey, a total of 708 individuals responded that they have had contact with an extraterrestrial being, a non-human intelligence, on a UAP craft. And so this is not based on hypnotic stuff. It's not based on dream. This is actually based on physical, conscious, waking memory. And many saw different types of beings in the craft. So we've got human-looking beings as the most popular, short grays with the big eyes, robotic characteristics, the tall grays with the big eyes, like the short ones, but have more of a sense of presence. There's another type at 30%, a hybrid that shows up in 20% of the beings, insectoid/mantid, 13%, reptilian, 13%, spirit or ghost, 10%. Then a large animal type, 5%, small animal type, 3%. So these are the actual, who are the UFO occupants? Well, these beings are the UFO occupants. Addressing the question, how would you describe your experiences with these entities, aka the non-human intelligences? We've got energy beings being the first at 55% in terms of response of this question. So this is likely outside of the context of the UAP craft, but 55% energy beings, 48% say it's positive, 7% say that's a negative interaction, 45% saying it is neutral. Humans is a big positive, 52% of respondents report they've seen humans as non-human intelligences or ETs. And that's 60% say that's positive, 5% say that's negative, and it goes down there. I do want to point out, right, so some of the, like the shorter grays, they often are associated with negative experiences. 29% of people, 50% of the respondents saw them. 29% of the respondents said, hey, they're positive. Only 11% said they were negative. 60% said they were neutral. Similarly, with the tall grays, 30% are positive, which is very interesting. And the kind of negativity, the largest negativity percentage is the reptilian. That's at 23%. But again, we've got 60% saying it's neutral and 17% saying it's positive. So those are the UFO occupants. Now let's talk about psi. So we'll talk about psionic things. We'll talk about psychic things. These are all the same word, paranormal stuff. So from the dictionary, the American Psychological Association Dictionary, they offer the definition of telepathy as an alleged direct communication of information from one mind to another in absence of any known means of transmission. It is a form of extrasensory perception. See also mind reading and thought transference, which they define as the two types of telepathy. And then we've got extrasensory perception, ESP. This is the alleged awareness of external events by other means than the known sensory channels. It includes telepathy, clairvoyance, and precognition. Despite considerable research, the existence of any of these modalities remain highly controversial. So I would say it's not necessarily controversial because we can look at the scientific literature and we can look to see where the US government have spent their money. But we find something funny happening when we do scientific studies on telepathy. And that funny thing is we discover that people perform slightly yet significantly more than chance. So there's definitely a signal that says telepathy is real, but the context of the telepathy test does something. It doesn't work in the way that we want. And some people have speculated it's because of proof, some other things. I would say it's something like an observer effect, and that the intelligence of the field does not want undeniable proof of these things, but wants to invite you to have a telepathic experience. So that's important to understand. Psi is the phenomena or alleged phenomena studied in parapsychology, including ESP, precognition, and psychokinesis, which is moving things with your mind. So, getting into those ESP studies, this is from a paper from 2012. It's a meta-analysis of ESP studies. Meta-analysis is scientists and researchers go back through the scientific literature. They do some reanalysis to it. They look at, how big were the sample size? What can we conclude now about all of these studies about a single topic? So here is simply the abstract of the paper assessing the paper meta-analysis of ESP studies, which was put forward in the Journal of Parapsychology, 2012. We report the results of a meta-analysis on force-choice ESP studies which use targets such as card symbols, numbers, letters, and so forth. The period from 1987 to 2010, for the period from 1987 to 2010, a homogeneous data set of 72 force-choice studies yielded a weak but significant mean effect size of 0.01. And then there's some statistics here. There was no evidence that these results were due to low-quality design or selective reporting. The clairvoyance studies did not produce a significantly higher mean ES than dye precognition studies, and target type did not make a difference to effect size. We note that effects do not vary between investigators, but we did find suggestive evidence that the number of choices per trial is inversely related to dye p-value. We also found evidence of a linear incline in ES values, indicating that effect sizes have increased over the period of 1987 to 2010. Suggestions are made that might help facilitate further increases in effect size. So again, they did a meta-analysis. They found a weak but significant effects. Here we've got a paper that is very recent, 2021, Detecting Telepathy. It is a meta-analysis for ESP in the last 20 years. This meta-analysis aims to detect telepathy's effect in ESP experiments in the last 20 years. 7 articles were chosen from PsycInfo, and which is a database, and an extra 2 were found from a summary table for telepathy experiments in one selected paper. In these studies, the difference between the observed hit rates and the expected ones represented the impact of telepathy. These papers included 16 experiments, and their data were collected to calculate their effect size. The weighted effect size was the original one multiplied by the proportion of trials. The overall effect size summed the weighted effect size and got 0.091. The small effect size illustrates that the effect brought by telepathy on the participants' performance obtained from these experiments is very small. So again, there is a signal. It is small. It is not. We're not sending messages, let's say, but there is something here that is unexplained. Again, let's look to another study. It is from 2011. It is called Revisiting the Ganzfeld ESP Debate, a Basic Review and Assessment. The Ganzfeld effect was discovered, I believe, by a man named Ganzfeld, who went up to the Arctic and noticed when all the snow came down and there was a unified field of vision, he started to see strange visions. And so you might have seen like ping pong balls cut in half and put on people's eyes, and they're like in a zone. That is a Ganzfeld telepathy test. So someone's sitting there with these ping pong balls on their eyes, receiving imagery that somebody else is sending, and these scientists are rating how well that receiver receives the images. This paper presents a brief review of the debate between parapsychologists and skeptics regarding the issue of replication in experimental tests of ESP using sensory reduction technique known as Ganzfeld. The review is followed by a basic assessment of 59 Ganzfeld ESP studies reported in the period following the publication of a stringent set of methodological guidelines and recommendations by Hyman and Honorton in 1986. The assessment indicates that 59 studies have a combined hit rate of approximately 30%, which is significantly above the chance expected hit rate of 25%. The comparison of the hit rates across 4 Ganzfeld meta-analyses as well as across 15 laboratories seems to further indicate replication of the Ganzfeld ESP effect by a broad group of independent researchers. So these are just abstracts from the papers. If you're interested, go into them and read it. And if you don't believe it, give it a try. See how it works for you. So the reason I want to talk about psychic stuff is because I want to establish a sense of credibility that everyone here is psychic, right? These are not great psychic abilities. They are wrong 70% of the time in those Ganzfeld tests, but it was 5% more than chance. And so you can develop it more. What would happen if you developed our psionic ability with a field of belief, possibility, and support for 50 years, I don't know, 100 years, 1,000 years, an aeon, which is maybe what these other non-human intelligent societies have on us? What would that look like? And then imagine from that point of view what you would say to Earth people. Would it be, what would you say? And so we have from the Beyond UFO study, some idea as to what the contents of communication are. And I'll just get into these slides. So contact with NHI via telepathic communication. Did your experience involve some type of telepathic or thought transfer or direct knowledge being given to you by an ET or NHI? 78% of the 4,000 plus recipients or respondents said yes, telepathy happened to me. 22% said no. And so there's some characteristics of these. 66% said that the communication was personally relevant information. 52% said it dealt with spiritual or religious messages. 51% described the information as philosophic or metaphysical. 46% said that it was some other type of communication. 34% said the information was scientific or technological in nature. 34% said that it dealt with global or socio-political issues. And so It's also noted that there was some sort of video, vision, or picture associated in 53% of the respondents, and 738 individuals also said they heard a buzzing noise during the telepathic communications. So let's dive into what are the nature of these communications. Was the communication in your native language? 75% said yes. Did the ETs impart a reassuring message to you? 61% said yes. And did the ETs provide you with a spiritual message? 54 said yes. Did the ETs give you a message of love or oneness? 54% said yes. Concern for humanity's behavior? 45% said yes. Do you believe that you possess information about advanced technology, physics, or other scientific information that you've never learned, never read in your normal environment? 42% said yes. Did the ETs give you information that they wanted you to share with others? 41% said yes. Did the ETs give you an environmental message regarding the Earth? 39% said yes. Did the ETs tell you about a future natural catastrophe or depopulation of humanity? 32% said yes. So here we have kind of what are they communicating? What are they using their psionic capacities to communicate with us? If they are indeed happening, right? What's the communication? It's all about love. A lot of times it's about messages. It's about bettering humanity and developing humanity towards a more responsible sense of stewardship. So that's the nature of psionic psychic messages. We're psychic, right? Those beings seem to be psychic. The communication's happening in a psychic way, and it's about maturing as a race here in humanity. So let's talk about high strangeness. High strangeness is really an important term. I believe it was coined by J. Allen Hynek in his Blue Book studies, and it refers to all the weird stuff that happens. You just Google high strangeness. It's super weird stuff. It's like different sets of objective facts, bilocation experiences. We'll get into that here. This text is coming from a paper, a 2004 paper by Jacques Vallée called Incommensurability, Orthodoxy, and the Physics of High Strangeness, a 6-layer model for anomalous phenomena. And I thought this would be great because Jacques Vallée is famously Lacombe in the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, put forward by Spielberg. So there's a sort of cultural resonance with this Frenchman that went all over the world studying these things and seeming to know things kind of above or beyond the military-industrial complex. Jacques Vallée is very interesting in that he doesn't necessarily understand these UFO occupants to be ETs. Much rather, he says, we should not necessarily take them on their word, but see how they behave and compare that with other reports. And I mean, it's a fascinating subject, but I'll get into this paper right now. The main argument presented in this paper is that the continuing study of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, may offer an existence theorem for new models of physical reality. The current SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence paradigm, and its assumption of mediocrity place restrictions on forms of non-human intelligences that may be researched. A similar bias exists in the UFOologists' often stated hypothesis that UAPs, if real, must represent space visitors. Observing that both models are biased by anthropomorphism, the authors attempted to clarify issues surrounding high strangeness, observations by distinguishing 6 layers of information that can be derived from UAP events, namely 1, physical manifestations, 2, anti-physical effects, 3, psychological factors, 4, physiological factors, 5, psychic effects, and 6, cultural effects. In a further step, they propose a framework for scientific analysis of UAPs that takes into account the incommensurability problem. So what are these 6 levels? Let us consider the characteristics of sightings that are not explained by trivial natural causes. We can recognize 6 major layers in terms of our perception of these characteristics, as they can be extracted from earlier works about UAP phenomenology or from the current NIDS database. Layer 1. First of all is the physical layer, evident in most witness accounts describing an object that occupies a position in space consistent with geometry, moves as time passes, interacts with environment through thermal effects, exhibits light absorption and emission from which power output estimates can be derived, produces turbulence when landed, leaves indentations and burns on the ground, gives rise to photographic imagery, leaves material residue consistent with Earth chemistry, gives rise to electromagnetic and gravitation disturbance. Thus, UAPs in a basic physical sense are consistent with technology centered on a craft that appears to be using a revolutionary propulsion system. It is the existence of this layer that has led mainstream UFOologists to claim that UFOs and related phenomena were due to extraterrestrial machines. So the layer 2, for lack of better term, we will call the second layer anti-physical. The variables are the same as those in the previous category, but they form patterns that conflict with those presented by modern physics. And so this is getting strange. Objects are described as physical and material, but they also are described as, and please pay attention to these because we will be using these high strangeness criteria to bridge into the dream world, because these descriptions of the phenomenon are very similar to the descriptions people use to describe the phenomena of dreaming. So here we've got sinking into the ground, shrinking in size, growing larger, changing on the spot, becoming fuzzy and transparent on the spot, dividing into 2 or more objects, several of them merging into one object at slow speed, disappearing at one point and appearing elsewhere instantaneously, remaining observable while not detected by radar, producing missing time or time dilation, producing topological inversion or space dilation, the object estimated to be of smaller exterior size or volume, but witnesses saw a huge interior, many times the exterior, appearing as balls of colored light, intensely bright lights under intelligent control, aka perhaps orbs. It is the presence of such descriptions that lead most academic scientists to reject the phenomena as the product of hallucinations or hoaxes. And that is a good sentence. Remember this sentence. Most academic researchers think this is production of hallucination or hoaxes. However, these descriptions of the anti-physical layer will correspond almost directly with many of the measures that dream scientists use to measure the bizarreness factors in dreams. And therefore, we can conclude, based on the phenomenological similarities of this high strangeness experience with dreams, the bizarreness of dreams, that there is something like a dream-like experience happening in our waking world, that these experiences are evidence for a shift in our worldview, that this world is not a 3D manifold of Cartesian space, Newtonian physics, is rather like a dream in the mind of the universe, because these things are bizarre in the way that dreams are bizarre. So let's continue on with Jacques Vallée. Layer 5 involves, is the 5th category of effects, can only be labeled psychic because it involves a class of phenomena commonly found in the literature of parapsychology, such as impression of communication without direct sensory channel, poltergeist phenomena, motions and sounds without a specific cause outside the observed presence of UAP, levitation of the witness or of objects and animals in vicinity, maneuvers of UAP appearing to anticipate witnesses' thoughts, premonitory dreams or visions. And I'll say that again. Premonitory dreams or vision are part of the information that this highly respected researcher of the UAP phenomena says, right? This is our idea of who a researcher is comes in part of who a UFO researcher is comes from this man. And he's saying premonitory dreams are part of the phenomenon. Personality changes, promoting unusual abilities in the witness and healing. All right, so we've covered UFO sightings, we've covered non-human intelligences, and we've also covered some information about psychology, ESP, parapsychology. So now we can dive into the discussion on dreams. So let's start by an APA definition, APA, American Psychological Association. This is pretty much consensus reality definition. So dreams are a physiologically and psychologically conscious state that occurs during sleep and is often characterized by a rich array of endogenous sensory, motor, emotional, and other experiences. Dreams occur most often, but by no means exclusively, during periods of REM sleep. Those that occur during non-REM sleep are characterized primarily by imagery and emotion, whereas REM dreams are characterized primarily by visual imagery along with a sense of motion in space. Intense emotion, especially fear, elation, and anger, belief that dream characters' events and situations are real, and sudden discontinuities in characters, situations, and plot elements. Because it is generally difficult to recall such dreams in detail more than a dozen seconds after waking, REM dreams reports are optimally obtained immediately after waking an individual in whom rapid eye movement and EEG arousal have been observed. Individuals awakened during non-REM sleep report fewer dreams. So they also talk about theories. Theories about the nature and meaning and function of dreams are diverse. They go through, talk about Hippocrates, Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, Adler. They're all saying that there is something here in the unconscious that we can relate to, and that there is a process of dream work that comes up and about. So let's turn to the scientific literature now about dreams. How does the scientific literature define dreams? And let's turn to a paper called The Definitions of Dreams, a paradigm for comparing field descriptive specific studies of dreams. This is published in the journal Dreaming in 2001. So they say a single definition for dreaming is most likely impossible given the wide spectrum of fields engaged in the study of dreaming and the diversity in currently applied definitions. Many studies do not specify a definition, yet results are likely to be comparable only when comparable definitions of the topics are used. The alternative is to develop a classification system organizing the multiplicity of definitions for dreams. A dream should not be exclusively defined as a non-conscious electrophysiologic state. Dreaming is, at least in part, a mental experience that can be described during waking consciousness. Dreaming is, at least in part, a mental experience that can be described during waking consciousness. Definitions for dreaming should be utilized in research and discussion which address various axes which define dreaming. Wake and sleep axes, meaning you can have a dream experience during wake. And they talk about daydreams. They talk about hypnagogia in this paper. In sleep, there's different sections of sleep, non-REM, REM, in between sleep, that sort of thing. The recall, how we recall the dreams, and also the nature of the dream content. These are all aspects that require a sophistication to understand what we're actually talking about when we talk about dreams. So it's very important to understand that there's a variety of phenomena here. You might not have an active dream practice. You might not actually be remembering your dreams. It turns out everyone has dreams, and that there is a wide variety of dreams, and there is a complexity and sophistication that we can use to relate and communicate about our dreams. Let's turn to a definition of lucid dreaming, which will become important towards the end of this presentation. This is from a paper called Mindfulness and Lucid Dream Frequency Predict the Ability to Control Lucid Dreams. It's published in 2017 in Imagination, Cognition, and Personality. In a lucid dream, one is aware that one is dreaming during the dream. Thus, it is possible to wake up deliberately, or to influence the action of the dreams actively, or to observe the course of the dream passively. Whereas the first part of the definition, that a lucid dreamer is aware that he or she is dreaming, is widely accepted. But the second part of the definition about dream control, either in the way to the end of the dream or wake up, or in taking an active or passive part in the development of the dream, is not well developed. All right, so let's talk about theories of dreaming, because you might have some theories of dreaming. I likely have some theories of dreaming, but what does the scientific literature say about theories of dreaming? These theories of dreaming, I mean, you can think of the Freudian stuff, everything's wish fulfillment. You can think of Jungian stuff as like journeys of archetypes. You can think of the psychic stuff as connection with a transcendent realm of psionic capacities or whatever. You can think of dreams in a variety of ways. So how does science think about dreams? And this is from an article called Theories of Dreaming and Lucid Dreaming, an integrative review towards sleep, dreaming, and consciousness. It's put forward in 2015 in the International Journal of Dream Research. The abstract states, the present review gives an overview of common theories of dreaming with a specific emphasis on how they are able to explain lucid dreaming. The theories are grouped either to such that describe structural or biological processes of dreams, or to such that describe evolutionary and adaptive functions of dreams. This overview shows that none of the theories outlined is fully capable of explaining neither non-lucid dreaming nor lucid dreaming. So that's really important. None of the theories outlined can fully explain the phenomena of dreaming or lucid dreaming. None of them. So with respect to the first group, the concept of proto-consciousness is the theory that best explains lucid dreaming. With respect to theories with an evolutionary and adaptive function of dreams, those theories that stress the problem-solving or simulation functions of dreams are more suited to explain lucid dreaming. Further, aspects that induce or amplify lucidity and neural mechanisms that may be involved in lucid dreaming are described. It's a good paper. If you want to learn about all the different theories of dreamings, there's a few nice tables there. But let's really ground this dialogue in truth, in actual history, right? We may not know what dreaming is. We may not have a strong definition of dreaming. We may, in the scientific literature, not actually have enough studies to tell us what dreaming is. However, we can look to the historical effect on the scientific progress, right? So scientific progress. And so there's an article in Wikipedia, it's well cited, about works based on dreams. And we know that Mendeleev had a dream that inspired the periodic table of elements, that Niels Bohr had a dream that inspired his understanding of the structure of the atom. We know that Kuklay had a dream of an Ouroboros, a snake eating its tail, that provided the understanding of the molecular structure of benzene. Lowy had a dream about the chemical transmission in nerve impulses as opposed to the electric. Ramanujan had many mathematical discoveries. And actually, if you're really interested in conversation with non-human intelligence, check out his work. He spoke to them and they gave him mathematical understandings that we are still just appreciating nowadays. Wallace, who was a co-discoverer of the theory of evolution, credited it to a dream. And most importantly, and to anyone who is concerned about dreams being unscientific, we simply need to look at the philosophy and history of science and go back to Descartes, who was and is revered as the father of the scientific method. He had dreams that inspired his discourses, his meditations, that yielded this sort of scientific method. And so even if dreams are not part of the contents of the scientific dialogue as much as I would like to see, and as much as we need in order to actually and scientifically prove things, we just need to see this actual list of testimony of scientists, that dreams are impactful and real and should be considered. All right. This slide too is addressing any skepticism about dream reports. So this comes from a paper that addresses a philosophic kind of question. Can we really trust what people say they dreamt about when we ask them what they dreamt about? Is it really the case, or are they just making it up on the fly? This is sort of like a sophomoric, smoke a joint and ask your like philosophy friends like the meaning of life kind of question. It's sort of like, what if every day is brand new and you're just, God created you with the memories of the past or whatever. Those are really interesting questions, and this sort of the sense of like, let's not trust people about their dreams. And I would actually say there's evidence it's unethical to have a skepticism about the nature of dream reports, especially when it comes from someone who you can trust, who has there's a sense of discernment here. So there are philosophers, there's a philosophy of science, there are scientists that say, I don't think we can trust the subjective reports, the dream reports, when we wake someone up and ask them what they were dreaming. Maybe they're making it up on the fly. So here is a description from this paper, Reporting Dream Experiences, Why Not to Be Skeptical About Dream Reports. It's put forward in 2013 in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience. So are dreams subjective experiences during sleep? Is it like something to dream, or is it only like something to remember dreams after waking? Specifically, can dream reports be trusted to reveal what it is like to dream? And should they count as evidence for saying that dreams are conscious experiences at all? The goal of this article is to investigate the relationship between dreaming, dream reporting, and subjective experience during sleep. I discuss different variants of philosophical skepticism about dream reporting and argue that they all fail. Consequently, skeptical doubts about trustworthiness of dream reports are misguided and for systematic reasons. I suggest an alternative, anti-skeptical account of the trustworthiness of dream reports. On this view, dream reports, when gathered under ideal reporting conditions and according to the principle of temporal proximity, are trustworthy or transparent with respect to conscious experience during sleep. The transparency assumption has the status of a methodologically necessary default assumption and is theoretically justified because it provides the best explanation of dream reporting. At the same time, it inherits important insights from the discussed variants of skepticism about dream reporting, suggesting that the careful consideration of these skeptical arguments ultimately leads to a positive account of why and under which conditions dream reports can and should be trusted. In this way, moderate distrust can be fruitfully combined with anti-skepticism about dream reporting. Several perspectives for future dream research and for the comparative study of dreaming and waking experiences are suggested. So here, it's just saying, let's trust it. Let's trust it. Like, why doubt it? I mean, the only reason to doubt it is from a materialist point of view, right? If this is all consciousness, if we're all consciousness, we're having conscious experiences, why would we not be able to relate to you just what my conscious experience was in the same way? And oftentimes in my own personal practice with people in their dream world, I look to a sense of discernment. If they know what they're talking, everyone says, hey, I had this dream. It was meaningful. It means something. It's significant. I want to explore it. Even if it's a silly dream, like I was in this white room and there was this other being here. I don't remember anything more. They say, it means something. It means something. Let's get into it. And let's trust that intuition. There's no reason to doubt it. Right. All right, so let's talk about ethics and discernment and empowerment. So the IASD, the International Association of the Study of Dreams, put out this ethics and confidentiality statement. IASD celebrates the many benefits of dream work, yet recognizes there are potential risks. IASD supports an approach to dream work and dream sharing that respects the dreamer's dignity and integrity, and which recognizes the dreamer as the decision maker regarding the significance of the dream. Systems of dream work that assign authority or knowledge of the dream's meaning to someone other than the dreamer can be misleading, incorrect, and harmful. Ethical dream work helps the dreamer work with his or her own dream images, feelings, associations, and guides the dreamer to more fully experience, appreciate, and understand the dream. Every dream may have multiple meanings, and different techniques may be reasonably employed to touch these multiple layers of significance. A dreamer's decision to share or discontinue sharing a dream should always be respected and honored. The dreamer should be forewarned that unexpected issues or emotions may arise in the course of dream work. Information and mutual agreement about the degree of privacy and confidentiality are essential ingredients in creating a safe atmosphere for dream sharing. So again, there's the ethical obligation from the academic association that supports dream work says you have to acknowledge the dream has many meanings and that the dreamer is the source of authority. We can't be and significance, right? So if a dreamer tells you he or she had a significant dream about UFOs or non-human intelligences, and if that dreamer has a reasonable credibility that you would give to anyone else if they were speaking about their own experiences, and they say, hey, I had a dream with a non-human intelligence in it. This is communicating to me, and I'm sharing that with you. You don't have to believe that non-human intelligences are speaking. You don't have to accept that, but you do have to respect the dignity and integrity of the dreamer by understanding that they are the decision maker with regards to the significance of the dream. So this is very important as we relate to dreams related to non-human intelligences, right? All right. We need to talk about lucid dreaming because this is where it gets good. This is where we are stepping now into application of our dream understandings, into practice, into how we can actually relate to these different, the phenomena, right? So I'll just get into it by reading these abstracts and quotes. This one is from a paper called Insight and Dissociation in Lucid Dreaming and Psychosis, put forward in 2018. Dreams and psychosis share several important features regarding symptoms and underlying neurobiology, which is helpful in constructing a testable model of, for example, schizophrenia and delirium. The purpose of the present communication is to discuss two major concepts in dreaming and psychosis that have received much attention in recent literature: insight and disassociation. Both phenomena are considered functions of higher order consciousness because they involve metacognition in the form of reflective thought and attempted control of negative emotional impact. Insight in dreams is a core criterion for lucid dreams, aka you're aware that you're dreaming. Lucid dreams are usually accompanied by attempts to control the dream plot and dissociative elements akin to depersonalization and derealization. These concepts are also relevant in psychotic illness, whereas insightfulness can be considered innocuous in lucid dreaming and even advantageous in psychosis. The concept of disassociation is unresolved. The present review compares correlates and functions of insight and disassociation in lucid dreaming and psychosis. This is helpful in understanding the two concepts with regard to the psychological functions as well as the neuropsychological psychological. And so we see here, lucid dream practice helps improve insight into the nature of reality, which is actually seen as helpful in the treatment of psychosis, right? Which is something around the misunderstanding of reality or misapprehension. So that's it. This is a very key moment, right? A key moment to realize that lucid dream practice can increase the capacities for insight, and that practice can be helpful in the treatment of psychosis in relating to misapprehension of the nature of our reality. All right. Coming from that paper, Mindfulness and Lucid Dream Frequency Predicts the Ability to Control Lucid Dreams from 2017. Mindfulness increases lucidity. So the main predictors of lucid dream control were higher lucid dream frequency, meaning you're dreaming and lucid dreaming more, and dispositional mindfulness in wakefulness, as well as younger age. The findings suggest that by cultivating mindfulness, lucid dreamers might be able to develop greater dream control. However, further longitudinal studies, research is needed. So mindfulness seems you become aware of the nature of your reality, and you establish those habits of tuning into the nature of your reality through mindfulness. It kind of makes sense to me that that habit would continue in the dream experience. All right. So this is this idea that lucid resolution, there's a lucid resolution to recurrent nightmares. This is pretty important because we're going to make conceptual bridges from dream state to the waking world through the phenomenological similarities of high strangeness and the bizarreness factors, and then we're going to see what this means. So we might get freaked out by little gray aliens that want to probe us. We might get freaked out by the reptilian cabal that's doing something, but we have a solution here. And I want to describe this solution in a few different ways. This way is coming from written word. This is testimony of a person who has written their experience, and then we'll go into more scientific discussion on this. But this is really important. If there's one thing to take away, it might be this, right? Might be this. So I'd like to share an interesting recurring dream that I had many years ago that taught me the value of embracing shadow rather than rejecting it. And again, this is in Lucid Dreaming magazine. It's a post by an author who had an experience. At the time, I would regularly see a dream where someone transforms into the Incredible Hulk and proceeds to chase me. In those dreams, I am not lucid, but I am always aware enough to start running and then fly away to escape him. He was always faster than me, and just before he would capture me, I would pull myself out of the dream and wake up. I would usually find myself drenched in sweat, heart beating rapidly in anxiety, and feeling intense fear. Collecting my thoughts, I started forming a request in my mind for help from the awareness behind the dream, when suddenly a beautiful red-haired woman appeared in front of me wearing glasses and a purple dress. I immediately knew she was some sort of witch. She instantly cast a spell that bound me with green energy ropes. Then she called to the Hulk, "Come here, I've got him." The Hulk appeared in the alleyway and let out a huge demonic roar and grinned in satisfaction. This was the height of my fear. The woman telepathically suggested, "Why do you keep running away? He just wants to talk to you." Hulk answered in his thick, burly voice, "I can't stand being in XX Star. Get me out of there." XX Star was the name of the company I was working for. Since the incident, whenever I repress frustration or anger, the Hulk revisits me in my dreams so that I immediately know what's going on and I rectify whatever is needed in waking life, and then he lies dormant. I urge all dreamers that the next time they face a shadowy figure in a dream to summon the courage to face it and simply ask, "What do you want?" than to listen to what that figure has to say. There seems to be a great reward in acknowledging our fears in a lucid dream. It just might save us a lot of unnecessary grief in waking life. And I wonder what you would say when you consider that life is a dream. Life is like a dream. And if you don't believe that, check out some quantum physics and the observer principle. Life is like a dream. And so what would it be like if we were to summon courage and face the things that we're scared of here and now in this world? All right, here is an article from Psychology Today, 2015. Confronts your nightmares and lucid dreaming. It is important to develop treatments aimed at reducing nightmare frequency. One novel approach that is being explored for treating nightmares is lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is the process of becoming aware in a dream. Once lucid within the nightmare, the dreamer can realize that there is no danger, even despite lingering fear. At this point, the dreamer can attempt to break free of habitual responses, instead consciously choosing how to respond. Ideally, patients have already visualized alternative endings to their nightmares in waking so that they can quickly tap into these alternate courses of action. Even careful confrontation with fearful figures can be a beneficial approach to dealing with a nightmare, in some cases leading to further understanding of the nightmare content and allowing personal transformation. And I would say that this is a very important thing to consider if you are having something like a recurrent nightmare of ET visitation, of abduction, of feeling like a targeted individual or any such thing. It's of being victim of an empire, right? Whatever. Wherever we're at, we feel suffering and we are having a nightmare experience in some way, shape, or form in our waking experience. And so it's really, this gives us a recipe of how to relate to those nightmarish aspects, and it may actually give us different outcomes. All right, so now in the scientific literature, coming from 2019 in a paper, My Dreams, My Rules, Can Lucid Dreaming Treat Nightmares? Published in Frontiers in Psychology. We conducted a careful literature search for eligible studies on the use of lucid dream treatments for nightmares. We observed that whereas lucid dream may be a feasible aid in the treatments of patients with nightmares through minimizing their frequency, intensity, and psychological distress, the available literature is still scarce and does not provide consistent results. We conclude, therefore, that more research is clearly warranted for a better estimation of the effective conductance and therapeutic outcome of lucid dream treatment in clinical practice. So there you are. We need some more research done. It looks positive, but let's do some more research. All right. Another paper from 2017 is called Inner Ghosts, Encounters with Threatening Dream Characters in Lucid Dreams. And I'm really reading this again to drive home the point and to invite you into any process of confronting your own nightmares, shadow sides or whatever in this dream of life. So when dealing with threatening dream characters, lucid dreamers were most likely to confront them and defend themselves, either physically or verbally, followed by escapist or avoidant behavior such as flying, or by constructive behaviors, according to Thawley, to confront them and seek resolution. Very infrequently did lucid dreamers accept defeat from a threatening dream character. Interestingly, more frequent lucid dreamers showed more constructive behaviors, i.e., more working toward resolution and less avoidant behaviors, and also encountered fewer threatening dream characters than less frequent lucid dreamers. On the other hand, nightmare sufferers tended to show more avoidance behavior when dealing with threatening dream characters and encountered them much more often. Together, these findings, according to Thawley's idea that encounters with threatening dream characters may represent internal conflicts of the dreamer. If the dreamer works towards resolution, the conflict may subconsciously be resolved, whereas if the dreamer tries to escape the conflict may recur in a dream, as another encounter with a threatening dream figure. Considering these findings together, lucid dreamers could perhaps be advised not to avoid the threatening dream figure they encounter in their lucid dream, for example, by flying away, but rather to confront this figure and to seek resolution. This may contribute to less frequent threatening encounters in the future. Additionally, by developing the ability to lucid dream and have lucid dreaming more often, lucid dreamers may also become less likely to encounter threatening dream characters. And I would say, actually, again, I'm driving home the point that this life is like a dream, right? And that these sort of negative encounters, abduction-style encounters, are something like nightmare experiences. And therefore, these lucid dream practices, when applied to the waking or transcendent experiences of contact, may actually shift them. And so I actually do have practice. I've invited some of my clients to practice these things, and there are case studies on Cosmic Dream Sanctuary about relating to non-human intelligences in the form of sort of like malevolent ETs and a diminishment of those experiences. And again, there's not enough evidence here to write a paper on, but there's anecdotal evidence, and I'm offering my professional sort of support of this notion. All right. So we're getting close to putting out all the pieces on the table, and now we're going to start pulling them together and putting the puzzle pieces together. So bedtime, ET, and UFO contact. In a paper called Emulating Alien and UFO Encounters in REM Sleep, put out in 2021 in the International Journal of Dream Research, the authors observed that approximately half of the stories about alien and UFO encounters involve sleep dream relaxation and sleep paralysis. I would caution you to understand that the sample size here is like probably 1,500 reports off the internet. Not necessarily, this is not a rigorous study, as rigorous as say like the Beyond UFO study, but it is still some sense of information. Then when we look to the UFO sightings desk reference put out by Costa and Costa in 2017, which is based on the National UFO Reporting Center and the MUFON data, they see that in the United States, 72% of UFO sightings report generally occurs during the hours between 4 p.m. and midnight, with a peak between 9 to 10 p.m., in essence, bedtime, or that last smoke outside or walking the dog. The hour between midnight and 4 p.m. Represents 27% of the typical day's UFO sightings. We've noted that after about 5 a.m., the daily UFO sighting volume is relatively flat at about 12.5% of peak hours. So again, right before bedtime, in terms of, that's when you see UFOs, is right before bedtime. There's half of the stories, let's say, about abduction happen in dream spaces. I understand that to be more or less like a rule of thumb. There's a significant majority of ET encounters happening in bedroom spaces. So let's talk about the nature of dreams now, of exotic dreams. So an exotic dream, this is coming from a paper called Exotic Dreams, Cross-Cultural Study, published in Dreaming by Krippner and Faith. They see that 8.1% of the reported dreams are classifiable as exotic. The purpose of this study was to identify exotic, i.e. puzzling, unusually extraordinary, or anomalous dreams in the sample of 1,666 dream reports from 6 countries, and to make gender comparisons as well. Scoring criteria were determined in advance for creative, healing, dreams within dreams, out-of-body, telepathic, mutual, clairvoyant, precognitive, past life, initiation, and visitation dreams. So these are all sort of psionic dreams. These are not the normal bizarre dreams, right? So there is a measure of bizarreness we'll come up to. Exotic dreams are exotic. They are psionic almost. They are not exotic because they're bizarre. We'll find that most dreams are bizarre. Anyways, within the sample of 1,666 dreams, there were 1,135, that's 8.1% exotic dreams. There's a difference between male and female, and also countries. So there's a variation with countries going from 12% of dreams from Russia to 5.7 in the United States. That's pretty interesting to know. 1.1% of those dreams were classified as visitation. So it is not unusual for people to dream about dead relatives and friends, but to be scored as a visitation dream, the deceased person or an entity from another reality had to provide counselor direction that the dreamer found to be of comfort or value. Purported visits from outer space aliens were placed in this category if the purpose of their visit was to bring instructive information to the dreamer. 1.1 dreams from spirit or outer space aliens that brought comfort or value to the dreamer. All right, so let's see how this compares with our understanding of dreams. So under the hypothesis that dreams are a vehicle for communication from non-human intelligences, we might expect, what are the sizes we're seeing? So these are dreams. We'll look to the Sleep and Dream database, which is put forward by Kelly Bulkley, and it's a great resource of 39,000 dreams, 1,000 of which actually are coded as examples of fantastic creatures. And this is part of the content analysis. There's a word search pattern that Bulkley uses to associate these dreams as dreams involving fantastic creatures, which allow for comparison with the content analysis norms put forward in the HVDC system, the Hall and Van de Castle system. So these are like angels, UFOs, demons, ghosts, poltergeists, whatever. So 3% of dreams have a kind of fantastic creature. I did an explicit word search for either UFO or alien, and 0.2%, so that's 69 dreams out of the 39,000 dreams involved explicitly UFOs or aliens, right? So now we can compare that with the normative dreams. So last century, there was an effort to see what was a typical dream. The HVDC norms actually are not normal. They are put together by about 1,981 dreams from undergraduates, male and female. And so it's significant because there's been a lot of looking into that set of dreams, but it is not significant in that it represents a limited population last century. And there's around 0.7% of dreams involve fantastic beings. So that information is coming from Seeking Patterns in Dream Content, a systematic approach to word searches, put forward by Kelly Bulkley in 2009 in Consciousness and Cognition. Please read that so you can understand how we can do quantitative content analysis on large-scale dreams, which is core to any understanding that we might do on these things. But this is just a teaser about content analysis. All right. Dreams are highly strange, right? Dreams are highly strange. This is a characteristic of dreams, and this is why this table here is a description of how it is strange. This is important to pay attention to because if you remember back to Jacques Vallée's 6 layers of high strangeness, especially the second layer, the anti-physical effects, that is literally describing the experiences here put forward in the bizarreness contents. So here is a really wonderful paper in the Journal of Sleep and Hypnosis put forward in 2003 by Coles called Dream Bizarreness Reconsidered. It's a great survey of a bunch of papers about the bizarreness in dreams. Several studies have attempted to report the frequency of bizarre REM dreams. However, due to the different scales used, the conclusions reached were conflicting. Most of these studies agree that bizarre dreams are very frequent, about 74% of REM dreams. 74%. So compare that with 50% in non-REM stages 3 and 4, 61% in non-REM stage 2, and then 38% in the sleep onset stage. So basically, if you're having a REM dream, which happens 3 to 4 times every night, it's going to be bizarre at the rate of 34%. What does bizarreness mean, right? So let's look here. These are all the scales of bizarreness that all these different studies have put out, and this is how they describe bizarreness, right? So I'll just scan it briefly, right? So it's talking about unusual content compared with common expectations, location, actors, actions, mood, term, and implements. There's scales from realistic to unlikely to ridiculous. Then we've got a sense of discontinuity or inconsistency or uncertainty with the dream plot, incongruity, implausibility, and thought feelings with respect to a situation. Continuity and discontinuity is another scale, and that has to do with just senses of like how consistent things are. Bizarreness, improbable, impossible characters, aka aliens. Sometimes they say metamorphosis, so that's transformations, improbable or impossible settings. Improbability and physical impossibility. This is another thing used. Logical impossibility and so forth. Here is the analytic scales. So scale name for bizarre elements. 3 general classes of bizarre elements: metamorphosis, unusual acts, and magical occurrences. So then there's another scale called distortion from reality. It has a changes in sex and identity, false beliefs, implausibility, behavior of an agent, alteration of a typical appearance or dimension of an agent, appearance or dimension, aka time dilation or space dilation, that sort of thing. We've got setting and character distortions coming up. And then here is dream bizarreness, McCarley and Hoffman scale. Dream bizarreness is divided into 3 major groups. A, animate characters, the 6 kinds, e.g. monsters and alien beings. B, inanimate environment, the 3 kinds, e.g. violation of physical laws. C, dream transformations, there are 4 kinds, for example, scenic shifts. So again, these are sort of the anti-physical level or kind of experiences that Jacques Vallée described. That's what we look to say, hey, these things are bizarre. So here we are. Bizarre dreams model psychosis. So again, continuing reading from the Dream Bizarreness Reconsidered. Many previous observers have reported some qualitative similarities between the normal mental state of daydreaming and the abnormal mental state of psychosis. The differences between the 2 groups indicated that, under experimental conditions, the waking cognition of schizophrenic subjects shares a common degree of formal cognitive bizarreness with the dream reports of both normal controls and schizophrenic. Though very preliminary, these results support that the hypothesis that the dreaming brain could be a useful experimental model for psychosis. Right. Thank you. So now let's move into dream ESP, because even though we've talked about the nature of human beings as extrasensory, again, we're seeing these weak but significant effects. I really want to call out that dreams are psionic in nature. We saw that a little bit in terms of the study, the Krippner study, the exotic dreams. But here, let's read from the correspondences between dream content and target material under laboratory conditions, a meta-analysis of dream ESP studies. And this was put out in 2017 in the International Journal of Dream Research. So dream ESP can be defined as a form of extrasensory perception, ESP, in which a dreaming perceiver ostensibly gains information about a randomly selected target without using the normal sensory modalities or logical inference. Studies fell into two categories: the Maimonides Dream Lab, MDL studies, and the independent non-MDL studies. So we've got 14 dream studies from Maimonides Dream Lab, 36 from others. The MDL data set yielded mean ES equal to 0.33. The non-MDL studies yielded mean ES equals 0.4. The difference between the two mean values was not significant. A homogeneous data set of 50 studies yielded a mean Z-score of 0.75 with corresponding significant Stouffer Z 5.3, P equals 5.19 times 10 to the negative 8. Suggesting, right, so this is the analysis, this is the interpretation of that math, suggesting that dream content can be used to identify target materials correctly and more often than would be expected by chance, right? So we conclude that dream ESP paradigm in parapsychology is worthy of continued investigation, but we recommend design improvements. Again, it works, just not very good, and we don't have a lot more studies to understand why, but it's there. All right, so let's talk about now the relationship of dreams to the actual encounters we might have in our stereotype of ET encounters. And so one of the main sources for our understanding of the extraterrestrial abduction phenomena, which unfortunately has informed our cultural understanding of the non-human intelligence and extraterrestrial contact phenomenon, comes from Budd Hopkins in his book Missing Time. I cite this primarily because of its cultural relevance. Its cultural relevance, not because of its scientific integrity. So that's really important to know, because Budd Hopkins was an artist much like myself, but unlike myself, he was not trained in hypnosis and was not trained in psychology. And he worked with 19 people, I believe, or 19 cases in this Missing Time book. And unlike myself, I mean, like, it's less than I've worked with, right? I've worked with dozens of people in Missing Time. So I just want to say these things, like, we don't need to be bound by the cultural narratives that have gone before, but we need to have awareness of where our notions of alien abduction and ET contact comes from. And here is one of them. If you want to dive deeper into the history of where this stereotype of abduction comes from, please do check out my study and practice lecture called On Missing Time, or on Finding Missing Time. Anyways, getting back to the reading from Missing Time, and from Budd Hopkins, put this out in 1995. And it seems obvious that for each single case we've heard about, investigated and listed as an abduction or probable abduction, there may be dozens still totally unknown. A probable abduction is a sighting in which several clues suggest the likelihood of an abduction. These include the witness's awareness of a time lapse, the presence of physical marks or woundings after such a hiatus, or dreams, or a vivid waking recollection of an abduction, again, following a time lapse or so forth. And again, just so you know, back in the Jacques Vallée paper, who is really a respected researcher in this, he does cite dreams as in the layer 5 of the UAP information field. Let's turn to Dolores Cannon, a book in 1998, Custodians Beyond Abduction. She's really important. She worked with people. She worked with a bunch of people. She trained a bunch of people to work with other people. She was a trained hypnotist, and I would say she's done much better work in terms of serving the experiencer community than I would say almost anyone in the history of hypnosis. So Dolores Cannon, in in custodians. When is a dream not a dream? When is it an actual memory clouded over by the subconscious so that it will appear as a dream? What is a dream anyways? How can we ever know the difference? And finally, is it important to our well-being to know the difference anyways? Maybe such things are better left alone, right? In my work, many people do not report any actual physical contact with aliens or sightings of crafts. Instead, they are often bothered by strange and unusually vivid dreams. These are usually dreams that had a different quality about them, and dreams that they cannot forget. We all from time to time have remarkably sharp and clear dreams that seem very real, and we are usually glad they are not real. When we have dreams that we remember long after they occur, this is a normal part of our shadow world we call sleep, and is often our subconscious's method of interpreting events in our waking life. It is also a way that the subconscious is attempting to deliver information to us via symbols. What makes dreams about UFOs, aliens, or spaceflight different? Why should we even pay attention to them? All right. So those were her questions. If you want to know more, dive into her book. But that was just a sense of how prevalent dreams are actually in this field of contact, especially when we stop looking from a negative lens of abduction and more into actually just working with people. So now let's turn to Dr. Jean Mack, 1995, in his book Abduction: Human Encounters with Aliens. He was influenced by Budd Hopkins, but he's a trained psychiatrist. He was selected by the government to investigate the sanity of witness accounts of UFOs. So he is one of the best sources actually to turn to in terms of our understanding of hypnosis, sightings, abduction, and so forth. So reading from his book here, epistemological questions, especially those concerning consciousness as an instrument of knowing, will be with us throughout this book. In this work, as in any clinically sound investigation, the psyche of the investigator, or more accurately, the interaction of the psyches of the client and the clinician, is the means of gaining knowledge. But it must then be noted that although we analyze and formulate as objectively as possible afterwards, the original information was obtained non-dualistically. Thank you, John Mack, for stating this. I'll read that again. It must be noted that although we analyze and formulate as objectively and as possible afterwards, the original information was obtained non-dualistically. This doesn't mean we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It just means we need to recognize what objectivity is, what subjectivity is, what non-dualism is, and how these things can serve as different means of knowledge. If you want to know more, you can dive down into the foundations of Western psychology and look to the Platonic myths and how Socrates describes the transition of logos to mythos, of logic to myth, right? And so that's really important. Let me continue with John Mack. Though the intersubjective unfolding of the investigator through this is obtained non-dualistically through the intersubjective unfolding of the investigator-abductee interaction. Thus, experience, the reporting of that experience and the receiving of that experience through the psyche of the investigator are, in the absence of physical verification, sufficiently robust to satisfy the scientific requirements of proof. There is physical evidence, but not proof. The only way that we can know about abductions, right? How amazing. Thus, experience, the reporting of that experience and the receiving of that experience through the psyche of the investigator are, in the absence of physical verification, sufficiently robust to satisfy scientific requirements of proof. Wow. All right. So just like let's not doubt these things. Let's actually develop a sense of discernment and capacity for relating to testimony that comes up and out of dreamers, right? And comes up and out of people who work with dreams and dreamlike experiences. When experiencers ask me about the status of their experience in the non-ordinary state, I can only say that the elements of their stories have appeared again and again in the stories of other individuals who are not mentally disturbed. I note that the feelings and emotions they have shown me seem quite real to me, and I explore other possible explanations for feelings that intense. Finally, I tell them I have no answers and that we are investigating their experiences together. Continuing on, at the end of the session, I instruct the experiencers to call either me or my assistant Pam, who is present during almost all of the meetings, for a follow-up discussion. They usually do call, but if they do not, we call them. We are interested in how the experiencer has dealt with the powerful feelings that came up during the session, additional memories that surfaced, and how they are managing what I call the ontological shock of the abduction events. Until the powerful reliving that has occurred during the hypnosis session, the abductee may have still clung to the possibility that these experiences are dreams or some sort of curable mental disorder. The denial never appears altogether, and a shock may recur, even after several hypnosis sessions, especially if a second abductee reports independently witnessing or experiencing during a shared abduction precisely what the first has reported. So he is now talking about his understanding of how people relate to these things. This really mirrors or matches Dolores Cannon's understanding that some people want to understand what we are terming abduction or ET contact phenomena. They want to understand it as dreams because there is an ontological shock. Oh my God, the world is different, sort of thing. Then that's revealed in these experiences, and therefore it's more convenient to understand them as dreams. And that's really important to understand. All right, so let's move now into talking about lucid dreaming, non-human intelligence context. So remember the last two readings as I read this, because this is a recent study from 2021 emulating alien and UFO encounters in REM sleep. So put forward in the International Journal of Dream Research. They have conclusions here that are different than my own, but exactly the same, right? So based in this context that we have a tendency to want to ascribe ET contact to dream experiences because it may shift our worldview or create ontological shock. That's actually a tendency here. And so just keep that in mind. And I'll have some more to say about my opinion on this in a few slides. But this is a paper that's really probably very important to understand and know about. Alien or UFO encounters, AUEs, have been a well-known part of human culture for centuries, but we are still unsure of their nature. Some studies suggest that in some such encounters, these phenomena could be related to dissociative REM sleep states, like lucid dreams, sleep paralysis, or out-of-body experiences. The present research focuses on the hypothesis that if some of the alien and UFO encounters are indeed products of REM sleep, then they could be deliberately emulated by lucid dream practitioners. Therefore, this experiment could help explain the mystery of AUEs. To check our hypothesis, we implemented an online resource through which we instructed a group of 152 volunteers to try and emulate alien or UFO encounters via lucid dreams. The volunteers made these attempts at home, and their reports were verified and analyzed by the researchers. Of the 152 volunteers, 114, that's 75%, were able to experience alien or UFO encounters after one or more attempts. The results indicate that 61% of participants encountered alien-like creatures, 28% encountered UFOs, and 24% experienced fear or sleep paralysis. Regarding the successful cases, 20% were close to reality in terms of the absence of paradoxical dreamlike events. AUEs, alien or UFO encounters, can be emulated willfully and can be perceived as being very close to reality. In theory, random people might spontaneously encounter AUEs during REM sleep and confuse the events with reality. This is their conclusion based on data. This is their worldview coming in, right? In theory, random people might spontaneously encounter AUEs during REM sleep and confuse the events with reality. This study helps explain at least some AUEs arise out at bedtime. This study can be used to examine or even emulate other paranormal, religious, or mystical encounters, thus helping us understand our culture and the human brain better, right? Very important to know that there's some data here, right? And that we can add our worldview to it. But what is the data? 150 people tried to emulate alien and UFO encounters in their lucid dreams. 75% achieved their lucid intent. So now let's actually look to see how that compares with other lucid intents. How does this work? So this comes from a 2014 paper, The Phenomenology of Lucid Dreaming, an online survey published in the American Journal of Psychology. And so they did a survey of people who have lucid dream experiences, and they asked certain questions. And in terms of that was the accomplishment percent of intentions. So intention, just so you know, lucid dreaming, you set an intention. This is called dream incubation as well. You set an intention, you go to bed, you have a dream, you awaken, you wake up to the dreamlike nature of your experience, aka you become aware that you're dreaming. So this is the first criteria of lucid dreaming, is you're aware of dreaming. So that's, and then you have to remember your intent, right? And then you actually have to accomplish your intent. So each of those steps have a success rate, right? So looking at the total sample, the percent of people who can actually remember their intent in a lucid dream is 48%, but who accomplish that is 44%, right? So that's really important to understand. Right? Compared to the 75% of people who try to have a lucid dream about aliens or UFOs, they actually did. They accomplished their lucid intent at some rate, something like 75%. And I would love a statistician to come in and actually do the comparisons to see if there is an effect here. To my mind, it looks like there is some effect that might be important to look at, because when we look at the column of trained lucid dreamers, they have a remembrance percentage of intents. They remember their intent 55% of the time, and they can accomplish their intent 51% of the time. So what accounts for the difference of 25% of successful intent to contact or have an experience of alien or UFOs? What accounts for that, right? I would say actually, in this case, the non-human intelligences are assisting, right? And if you don't believe in that, give it a shot. Look up CE5, human initiated contact, or check out the Cosmic Dream hypnosis track in the Dreamwell app that I'll talk about shortly. But you can try it out yourself. All right, so let's do some estimates as to what we're talking about. We are now in the conclusion phase. We've talked about all the facts. We've gone through all of the references. And so now let's just sort of spitball, figure out what we're talking about. So we've got an average of 5,600 UFO reports to the National UFO Reporting Center per year. So based on Rob Freeman's rule of thumb that 95% of reports of UFOs are misidentified, we've got an estimated 250 legitimate sightings, right, of a UFO. And then based on the sense that there is 80% of people report psychic contact, we can estimate that out of the at least 200 events of psychic contact are happening per year within the United States. That's a small number, but if it's psychic contact with non-human intelligences that can express through UFOs or UAPs, that's a big deal, right? So non-human intelligence in stream. We've got how many adults in the U.S.? That's 250 million, 250 million. We know that there are 3 to 4 REM dreams per night that are the ones that have been associated with the contact phenomenon. We can estimate about 5% of 0.5% of those could be classified as visitation. This is sort of spitballing here. So even like, right, check this out. 3 to 4 dreams a night. 0.5% of those of adult humans are visitation. That's 3 million. That's like 3 million. That's almost 4 million dreams. If you say it's only a fraction of a percent that are visitation dreams associated with aliens, we're still dealing with 1 million dreams in the United States per night that reveal contact with non-human intelligences. This is a significant resource that is being not looked at because dreams are sometimes difficult to relate to. But I say this is a significant sample size that we need to be capturing and studying and treating like a public resource, like an open data commons, right? All right, so looking at it from dream recall frequency. So we got 3 to 4 dreams a night. Not everyone remembers 3 to 4 dreams a night. On average, right, coming from the 2012 paper, The Variations in Dream Recall Frequency and Dream Themes by Age and Sex, put out in 2012 in the Frontiers of Neurology, we know that about a conservative estimate is there are 4 dreams on average per month remembered. So that means when we break this down, we've got 33 million dreams remembered in the U.S. population per night. And then per night in the U.S., we've got 166,000 potentially remembered contact dreams with non-human intelligences. Again, remarkably huge. It's huge in terms of what this might mean. All right, so looking at it from another angle, so looking at there are 400,000 or so subscribers to the Lucid Dreaming subreddit, right? So we know that there is, we can kind of count on 3.5 lucid dreams per month, and this is coming from that paper about the survey of lucid dreamers. 3.5 lucid dreams per month. 44% conservative estimate accomplish their intention. So then looking at that population of people who are in a community of lucid dreaming, the Reddit community, we can estimate that there could be 50,000 lucid dreams per night. And that means 22,000 accomplished lucid intent. So if we ask the lucid dreaming subreddit to incubate a dream, right, about extraterrestrials or UFOs, it's likely we would get 22,000, 30,000 reports of lucid dream contact with extraterrestrial beings or non-human intelligences. All right. So I'd love to just run through the summary of the findings. So we've seen that UFOs and non-human intelligences and the contact is actively reported. We've seen that UFOs and non-human intelligence contact is clearly associated with dreams, with telepathic and psychic experiences, with a high strangeness factor. There's a high strangeness factor with non-human intelligence encounters. It is phenomenologically similar to the bizarreness factors in dreams. We've seen that dream reports as well as contact reports seem reliable given reasonable discernment, right? We've seen it from a couple different angles, all right? The head of Harvard Psychiatry says this, John Mack. There's papers about it. It is an ethical principle put forward by the Association of the Study of Dreams, right? Why doubt these testimonies from reliable people with integrity? Why doubt it? Anyways, dreams may be studied objectively through the content analysis of reports or subjectively through participation or dream work. Contact, we've seen that contact in dreams might be screen memories or might be psionic contact, actual contact with non-human intelligences. We've seen that lucid dream practice beneficially increases insight into strange mental states like psychosis or schizophrenia. Lucid dream practice may decrease nightmare experiences, and lucid dreams with the intent for contact may be accomplished at a rate greater than other types of intents. Right? Dreams are naturally telepathic. Dreams and non-human intelligent contact are phenomenologically similar. Contact with these ETs or UFOs happens through telepathic dreams or unintegrated dreamlike memories. Non-human intelligence contact reveals waking life to be like a dream. So let's just pull that statement apart because this is huge, right? So we've got the case of reputable testimonies of individuals saying bizarre stuff is happening, right? There's encounters with fantastic beings that betray the laws of physics, that one of the most respected researchers in the field is called anti-physical because it goes against all of our physical understandings, like incongruity of shape, of size, of time, and movement of things, very similar to some of the scales that we have seen in the bizarreness factors of how we understand dreams, right? So in dreams, we go, hey, these are bizarre because they don't behave like waking life. Actually, contact in waking life with non-human intelligences reveals that our waking consciousness experience is or could be no different than the bizarreness, like the bizarreness in dreams. It's on the same spectrum. It's perhaps not the same amount of bizarreness, but it seems to me to be on the same spectrum, right? And so when we have this sense of lack of understanding related to UAP and non-human intelligences where we are triggered and rejecting dreams, where we're triggered and not hearing people's testimonies, whose testimonies are actually reputable, right? When we're doing that, we're exhibiting the patterns of psychosis. We are avoiding these shadow figures, right? Like we're afraid. People are afraid of these gray aliens. The alien threat narrative is coming up. This is a psychotic narrative. The alien threat narrative is something like a psychotic narrative in that we are seeing those aliens in the same way that we might see monsters in our nightmares. And that if we avoid them, it just leads to the amplification of those nightmarish experiences. But if we look to what happens in dreams, and apply that in the dreamlike experiences of contact, we can then expect that when we approach those nightmare monsters and say, hey, why are you here? What do you want to say to me? Then we receive information, they transform into sources of wisdom, that can communicate to us telepathically. Literally, this is the dream anecdote I shared, but this is what we can expect in relating to the nefarious greys, the evil reptilians, all of the alien threat narrative. Whatever this alien threat is, we can have confidence that we can turn to it and ask what's going on and go into it and have it transform and shift this nightmare experience, this experience of psychosis, of collective psychosis, if we just practice that, right? So how do we do that, right? Like, how do we do this? And it's very, very simple. Mindfulness and lucid intent yield insight, empowerment, and resolution to conflict. Meditate, and set the intention to integrate the wisdom that is held within those nightmarish creatures. In the recurrent nightmare experience, ask for that wisdom to be integrated into yourself and establish habits of meditation. That's simple, right? This is the solution to a mass psychosis that we are all experiencing related to UAP, UFO, and non-human intelligence contact. This can be solved simply by meditation and setting intent. Of course, establishing habits of mind, I would recommend establish the rapport with lucid dreaming in the dreaming space, right? First, and then turn to look at this world like a dream nightmare or something, and then work with it. I would say start with the dream, expand to waking, but the principles seem to me to be the same. Because they really do see, right? The evidence is here. You've gone through the references with me. You've seen that lucid dream practices are likely very beneficial to the resolution of psychosis because it helps reveal the nature of our experience. And that mindfulness practices helps improve lucidity and lucid intent, primarily because it's the same habit of mind to become aware of the nature of your reality in waking as it is in dreaming. So the next steps, right? So the next steps after this survey is to develop mindfulness and lucid dreaming skills. I want to call out the Dreamwell mobile app. I am its chief dream officer. This is we are a public benefit corporation. We offer a free dream journal app and free meditations, and there's free subscriptions. There is a subscription to premium content. If you really want to dive into it and don't have money, you send me an email. I'll give you a free subscription. Just to let you know, everything I promote, you can get to it by free or donation. You just have to reach out to me. And that's fine. That's totally fine. And sometimes I will invite you to donate or subscribe, but that's not the point. The point is actually the development of these mindfulness and lucid dreaming skills. That's a really easy way. There's many other ways. It's not just Dreamwell. It's not just what I'm talking about. There's 1,000 different ways to practice mindfulness and meditation. All right. The next steps actually in research, this is called forth in a number of papers that we've referenced, is the development of a database of dreams and relevant reports. We have this sleep and dream database. We have Dream Bank. I am in the process of working with the nonprofit Wisdom Age Metaverse, which has the project lightnet.org and exometaverse.org, to publish this set of data that I've collected about UFOs, channeled material, shamanic journeys, psychedelic journeys, and dreams, actually. And dreams, it's like 250,000 different reports from the public web from 2010 to 2020, plus the academic dream databases. But we're publishing that as an open data commons through lightnet.org, and that should be within months, not years. And there's other ways too. There's other people working in this field, and I would encourage you to check those out too, and work with them. It's wonderful. I'm glad we're all doing this work. Next is to study the phenomenon in dreams. So like, what is the frequency of non-human intelligence contact in the visitation dream? We've got the 1.1% from Krippner, but what about the non-human intelligences as understood through the rubric put forward by the contact modalities, CCRI, or perhaps even the Exo Studies Institute that talks about the typing of these beings? We would love to know more content analysis, right? And then to study the phenomena would be ideal to have objective verification of dream contact. For example, the establishment of waking rapport with these sources in dream contact by a planned contact event. So we reach out in dreams, we have dream experiences, right? That these are meaningful at their own level. But to take it, the next step is to say, all right, so manifest something that we can see with our eyes, right? Like build that rapport. And I believe it's actually kind of a two-step process. It will be non-dual and participatory. We see with the psionic studies in the objective research labs that you only get a slightly more than chance effect. So that's something to work through and talk through, but is worthwhile. And then finally, the next step is to initiate contact through lucid dream experiment protocols, right? Let's take those protocols that were put forward in the Emulating AUE Encounters paper, right? Emulating alien and UFO encounters through lucid dream paper. Let's use those to literally make contact with realms, with civilizations, with extraterrestrials, with the non-human intelligences who have a demonstrated interest in our well-being and the evolution of humanity into responsible stewards for the environment. Let's make contact with those and ask them about technologies. Let's ask them about how we relate to each other. Let's ask them how we can heal this planet. Let's make contact through dreaming, understanding that contact and dreaming is actually real and can impact our waking world and our problems in the waking world. Let's do that. And finally, I would invite you to solve this mass psychosis experience that we're having around non-human intelligences by simply practicing mindfulness meditation and believing in your own dreams. That's it. That's simple. That's all I'm talking about even after these 27 references and the 2 hours of reading. This is all I'm asking you to do or inviting you to do. I can say from my own personal testimony, it works. It works. And I'd love to see this happen at a massive scale, at the scales that we've talked about, where we're getting 20,000 reports of contact a day, where we're using the content analysis algorithms that are already developed in terms of the quantitative study of dreams and applying that to the 20,000 or maybe 250,000 reports daily that we could actually have of extraterrestrial and non-human contact with our species. How amazing would that be? It's within the realm of possibility. It is not an incoherent statement. The technology is there, the science is there, the theories are there, the testimony is there, the experience is there, the need is there. Let us wake up to this reality and actually make contact in our dreams. All right. Little bit of a preacher there. Thank you. I am passionate about this. This is why I'm doing this work. And so I want to now call out the CCRI. I want to point out CCRI, Consciousness and Contact Institute. You can learn more at agreaterreality.org. This is the theoretic book, Experiencer chapters about contact modalities. It goes through all of these. This is a lot of the theory that this presentation relies on. And I've offered a chapter of lucid dreams as a contact modality in this book, but there's so much more. So I would invite you to check that out. It's coming up soon, greaterreality.org. All right. If you want to dive in and learn more about your experiences, if you're curious, I do have some self-hypnosis videos. Abduction, contact, or dream. Let you decide. Let you be the decider. And so that's what this this self-hypnosis script invites you to do. We've got a missing time script experience. We've got, discovery of meaning behind abduction marks, starseed origin, purpose, integration. There's some other stuff there, so check that out. You can get there by going to the YouTube Cosmic Dream Sanctuary. You can go to the website cosmicdreamsanctuary.org/sessions/self-hypnosis videos, or go to bit.ly/CDS-hypnosis. All right, here is DreamWell, dreamwellbewell.com. You can build habits of lucid practice with this free app, right? It's a dream journal that is designed to increase your dream recall frequency by simple check-ins, and it's designed to support your sleep, dream, and mindfulness practices through audio tracks and things like that. So if you're interested, check that out. Lightnet.org and exometaverse.org are citizen science platforms I'm technical co-founder of, and these are the open data commons that I'm talking about. These are the organizations that we are publishing this database, this collection of dream data, other data collected from the public web, and to really serve as an open data commons and open source API to analyze the dream reports or reports of dreamlike experiences in real time, so that we can have data visualizations, so that we can have citations, so that it all works really well. So check those out. I offer group sessions and services. About every other Wednesday night, I offer a study and practice group. Every other Sunday, I offer a fellowship service. These have readings, invitation for contemplation. The fellowship service is sort of modeled on church, actually. So it's ecumenical, it's interfaith. You don't have to believe anything, but I offer some prayer, I offer some music, and then the Wednesday night is really just a deep dive into hypnosis and dream work. So for more information, you can go to cosmicdreamsanctuary.org/groups. I offer one-on-one sessions in dream work of hypnosis, of spiritual counseling. It is by a sliding scale donation, which means if cash is an issue, we'll work something out, and you can donate what you want. I send you the donation form afterwards. So everything starts with a free and no obligation consultation, which is just a chat for us to get to know each other. And to do that, you can go to cosmicdreamsanctuary.org/sessions. So I would invite you to learn with me on video format through YouTube. If you are on YouTube, I invite you to like and subscribe. And so here I've got a lot of stuff going on. I've got music, I've got sacred readings of texts, I've got the study and practice group, I have case studies from my practice. I have a lot going on there, so please do check it out if you want to learn more. So thank you for being with me on this wonderful journey to explore dreaming and ET contact, non-human intelligences. I know it's been a long ride. It's 2.5 hours almost of diving into 27 well-respected, peer-reviewed sources about these things, and then coming to conclusions about where we are in this world. I'm sure something that I have said perhaps have triggered you. You may be curious about it. You may believe or not believe. You may be confused by all the academics. Wherever you are, however you are, that's fine. We can just take a breath together. All I want to leave you with here and now is simply an invitation. The invitation is to understand that your dreams are a portal to a greater reality. They are a mode of contact with the deeper reality of this unified field of consciousness. Even if you don't believe it, you can open to this invitation. You can accept this invitation, because it's simply an invitation for empirical discovery in your own life. You don't have to believe anything. You can just say, yes, I'm curious about my dreams as psychic experiences. Yes, I want to make contact with non-human intelligences who have my good as their intent, who want to raise humanity up into responsible stewardship of the earth system, who act according to the principle of non-harm. Yes, I invite those beings in to my dream space so that we may have an encounter. You can say, yes, I want to establish the habit of turning in to the scary aspects of my own dream, because I believe, or am willing to believe, that by confronting those shadow or dark aspects of my own self in dreams, they can turn into sources of healing, insight, and transformation. You can say yes with me as I offer these suggestions and invitations. You can even take a moment to meditate on that right now. What are you willing to say yes to? Yes to paying attention to your dreams and remembering it. Are you willing to say yes to contact with a non-human intelligence through a psionic dream, a psychic dream with a being that is not human, that might be elemental, extraterrestrial, angelic, spirit? Say yes to those contacts. And I would invite you to say yes to that, only to make contact with those beings who are kind, wise and well, act according to the principle of non-harm, are here to benefit you and all of our human family. Are you willing to say yes to that contact? Are you willing to establish habits of mind and mindfulness that help you awaken to the nature of reality, to the dreamlike reality of your waking and dreaming experience? Are you willing to establish those habits of mind simply by practicing mindfulness a little bit every day? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to serve as an ambassador of first contact, of contact between the human family and this greater community? Are you willing to do that? I hope you are. So thank you for that contemplation. Thank you for being here and exploring this subject with me. And with that, I just want to say, may you dream well.